Okay. Happy New Year. 2020. And I'm going to answer a few very serious questions, looking absolutely stupid. So I appreciate it. And here is the question. The question is about restraint. And the question is restraining a kindergartner at the drop of a hat, because they perceive that he's a danger to himself or others because they claim that he's self-injurious. All right. Now, at the same time, how do you prevent them? You can't. You can sit there and put it in writing that you do not want your child restrained. At the same time, is there any kind of mechanism allowed in state for you to sit there and say you cannot restrain? Well, like I said, you can put it on you can put it on the record, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to obey or acknowledge or respect your request. Okay? It sounds like to me that the teacher just doesn't have any training. It sounds like to me what you need is a good functional behavior assessment, because we need to figure out why he's self-injurious, okay? And we need a good plan to address self-injurious behavior, okay? And restraining your child is not the answer, all right? And this is what I do not like about, well, you said you're in Alabama. So I'm just going to go ahead and use Alabama's seclusion and restraint policy. It's not a law. It's just a policy, guys. Created by the State Department of Education, not by the legislature. Has absolutely no teeth. But what it did was, when they created it, now all of a sudden it sort of became a blessing, or it became permission for schools to start using it. And because there's no punishment mechanism to punish people that are not doing restraint properly. There's no punishment if teachers are overusing it, misusing it, because so much of it is based upon their perception and their belief. Well, you're not there. And so it becomes this very, very vague set of, well, we had to restrain your child today. Why? Well, supposing about it is, there you go. I mean, and that's just as valid as any other BS excuse they give you. Now, I'm not saying that there's not legitimate times, but you can't tell me that a 5-year-old kindergarten kid, has a jump on you as an adult. And if they're engaging in self-injurious behavior, then that's very concerning. And if they're injuring themselves, then I'm not saying that you don't sit there and block that from preventing the injury or additional injury. At the same time, how's restraint the answer? It's not. And I absolutely agree with you. It creates more trauma. I try to convey this to educators all the time. You just don't understand the size differential, or you don't take that into consideration. What it's like to sit there and be a 30-pound 5-year-old, and have you be, however much you weigh as an adult. There's absolutely a size and a power differential, huge. And to sit there and have an adult come in and keep you from moving, the natural human response is going to be to fight, kick, scream, bite, to try to get out and away. That is a natural human response. And yet I see cops all the time. Stop resisting. Stop. What the hell are you talking about? Stop resisting. That's what humans do when somebody has a knee in the back and you're laying prone on the ground trying to breathe. Stop resisting. Then the other one is kids. Oh, he just calmed down and we'll stop. What? When you stop breathing? When you're so exhausted? You know how traumatic that is? Yet those are the responses. If you just calm down, then we'll stop doing what we're doing. How about you don't do it in the first place? Let's start there. What about all those de-escalation techniques that you supposedly learned along with your restraint training? How about utilizing all 50 of those and exhausting that before you move over to restraint? All right, genius? Because this is easy. This is abusive. This is a nuclear option. That even according to the Department of Mental Health in Alabama has stricter policies with regards to how they use restraint than what the public education system does. And that's mental health used against mental health patients in patient treatment. And they have more of a strict set of requirements on when it can be used, because there's an acknowledgement that anytime you use restraint, you have to be prepared that you could potentially seriously injure or kill. And I'm talking injure, including emotionally, mentally, physically, but then also kill. So anytime you engage in restraint, then you've got to sit there and weigh it to that the behavior is so serious to where the risk of injuring or killing that child is worth it because of the fact that they could kill themselves or severely injure themselves in whatever they're engaging in. And if you're doing that analysis and it's just not that way, then don't restrain. Find a different way. And so then that circles us back to what you need to do. And that is a very good functional behavior assessment done by an ethical and competent board certified behavior analyst. Okay? They need to do observations. They need to figure out why your son's engaging in SIB. We need good data collection. Then you need, based upon that very good functional behavior assessment, you need the behavior plan overhauled. And once the behavior plan's overhauled, then that teacher, along with anyone else that interacts with your son, has to be trained to implement that behavior plan error-free. Error-free, which is the same as competent, which is the same as fidelity. That's how they need to be trained. They need to be trained to a standard of competence on your child's behavior plan. And I can guarantee you this teacher isn't. If they're using restraint, that tells me the behavior plan's screwed up. All right? So, you can sit there and say, I don't want you to restrain my child, which you can do, and hopefully they'll respect that. But if they don't, then what are you going to do? And that's where I'm saying you need to trigger the FBA. You need to get a good third-party behavior analyst in there. You need that staff trained to competence. And then once they get that fixed, there won't be a need for the restraint. All right? Restraint should be a very, 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 very rare thing instead of what it is in our schools today.